A while back, we talked about you being the niche, that your story, your lens, and your lived experience is not a limitation. It's actually your biggest advantage. If you haven't heard that one, go back and listen after this. But today, I want to go one layer deeper. Because knowing you are the niche is one thing. Knowing what you actually stand for is another thing entirely. And that second piece is what makes people choose you over someone else who is teaching the exact same thing. Hi, I'm Trish, and this is Just a Number, the podcast for women 40 and up who are ready to stop waiting and start building from everything they already know. Part business, part unlearning, part confidence reset. Because you're not starting over, you're evolving with intention. We're talking lived experience, career wisdom, passions, and hard-earned perspective, turned into content, courses, and offers that actually help people. We're not here to play by the rules. Let's build boldly, teach what we know, and make it count. Welcome to Just a Number. Here's what usually happens. Someone decides they want to package what they know into a digital product or offer. They go looking for direction, and the advice is everywhere. Pick your niche, narrow your audience, stay in your lane. So they do the exercise. They write down a topic. Maybe it's organizing or budgeting. Maybe it's something from a career that they've spent 20 years building. But they pick a category and they think that's the whole job done. Here's the problem. A category is not a reason to choose you. A category tells someone what you talk about. It doesn't tell them why they should listen to you instead of the 10,000 other people who are talking about the same thing. Think about how crowded almost every category already is, whether it's organizing, budgeting, or career advice. There's really no topic left that doesn't already have thousands of people covering it. So if the only thing separating you from them is the topic, you're already behind before you've started. And this is where a lot of women get stuck longer than they need to. They keep narrowing the category, thinking the problem is that it's still too broad. Organizing becomes organizing for small spaces. Then it becomes organizing for small spaces on a budget. Then it becomes organizing for small spaces on a budget for people who just moved. At some point, you're not niching down anymore. You're just disappearing. So if the topic isn't what sets you apart, what does? It's your point of view, your narrative, the specific way you see the thing you know, and the stance you're willing to take on it. Think about the content creators you actually follow, the ones who you stop scrolling for. Most of them aren't covering brand new topics. Somebody else is teaching the same skill, probably several somebodies. But you follow this one because of how they talk about it, how their brand looks, because they're recognizable and they clearly believe something. That's a narrative. It's a through line. It's a consistent way of seeing things that show up in almost everything they make, even when the specific topic changes day to day. Here's an easy way to picture it. Just imagine two career coaches teaching the exact same skill, how to write a resume. One of them teaches it by the book. They talk about correct formatting, using action verbs, tailoring it to the keywords in the job posting, and keeping it to one page. Solid advice, nothing wrong with it. The other one teaches resume writing too, but everything she says pushes against the idea that a resume should sound like everyone else's. She'll tell you the formula is exactly why so many good candidates get overlooked, that a resume that reads like a form letter is going to get treated like one. Same skill, same audience, but one of them built a template and the other one built a following. Because people don't just want the correct answer. They want someone who's going to tell them why the correct answer isn't working for them. If you unsubscribed from every account you follow tomorrow, and I asked you to explain to me in one sentence why you followed each one of them, How many of those sentences would just be about the topic they talk about? Probably almost none. This is the part that really trips people up, because taking a side feels risky. It feels much safer to just stay neutral, to cover every angle, to not upset anyone, never say anything that might turn someone off. But when was the last time you got excited about someone who agreed with everything and committed to absolutely nothing? Neutral doesn't get remembered. A narrative means you're willing to say this approach, not that one. This belief, not just the popular one. You can see this play out at the company level too. Think about two different marketing agencies. One shows up exactly how you'd expect. They have a really polished website. They use a neutral color palette, careful language, and a persona built entirely around trust and professionalism. The other one, they show up loud. Bold visuals, they use blunt language, copy that pokes fun at the stiff, buttoned-up approach the first agency's known for. Neither one is doing it wrong, but notice what's actually happening. They're not just different in style. They're taking opposing positions on what good branding even looks like. And that stance is exactly what makes each one of them memorable to the right client. A business owner who wants to feel safe and established, they're going to book the first one. But a business owner who wants to take a little risk, feel bold and different, they're going to book the second one. Neither agency is trying to appeal to everybody, and that's precisely why each one is easy to remember and easy to recommend. That's what a narrative does. It doesn't just describe what you do. It tells people what you're for and, just as importantly, what you're against. And yes, that means some people are going to scroll past you, and that's okay. The people who stay are the ones who feel like you're speaking directly to them, something that they already believed, but they hadn't heard anyone say out loud yet. Now, here's where this gets practical, because figure out your point of view can sound just as vague as find your niche if we leave it there. I spent my entire career before this in the training and education space, mostly with really large companies. We built learning strategies, courses, guides, user manuals, all of it. And we built them the traditional way. Nothing wrong with what we made. It was great, and I learned so much at that job. It was valid, it worked for the people it was built for, but it never went outside the box. Everything followed the same format every time, even when the format wasn't actually the best option for what we were trying to teach. So when I went out on my own, I went back to something I'd actually learned in college at the art school I attended. You learned the rules of composition, of color, of form, and you learn them precisely so you can decide which ones to break on purpose. That's not a beginner move. That's the whole point of knowing them in the first place. So I got adamant about applying that same idea here. You have to know the rules before you can decide which ones to keep and which ones to break. That's not the same as ignoring the rules. It's the opposite. You need to understand the structure you're working inside before you can tell which parts of it are actually serving you and which parts have just kind of become habit. Now, this is where studying what's already working in your space is actually useful, in my opinion. It's not a waste of time as long as you're using it to understand the rules and not just copy the winning formula. Look at what everyone else in your space is doing. Notice the pattern, and then ask yourself which parts of that pattern you actually agree with and which parts you're only following because that's what everyone else does. That second category, the parts you're willing to break, that's where your narrative starts to show up. That's how you stand out enough to actually get noticed, build a following, and have people stick around. You are the niche means your lived experience is enough. You don't need another credential or degree to have something worth sharing. That's the foundation. A narrative is what you build on top of it. Two women could have built the exact same career and land on two completely different narratives because they noticed different things, they cared about different parts of it, got frustrated or pissed off by different pieces of the process. Your narrative isn't something you invent, it's not something you create. It's already there. It's in the opinions that you formed from actually living it. If you're sitting there trying to niche down into a smaller and smaller box, hoping the perfect category will finally make its grand appearance and make you feel ready to start, that's not actually the piece that's missing. The piece that's missing is deciding what you believe and being willing to say it. So before you go looking for a tighter category, ask yourself what you already think is true about the thing you know, the thing other people are too polite or too unsure to say out loud. That's your narrative. That's what people will actually remember and respond to. And if this one landed for you, please don't forget to follow the show so you don't miss what's coming next. Remember, just a number.